are doing poetry today. I found that incredibly hysterical. You may not, but that is okay. Yes, I was actually figuring out potentially that maybe we'll be able to get all of it in today. Not the prose, but the short poems, the usual poems. So I will get this, and I will not be um I don't I'm not going to like read things about them. I might not analyze as much just because there's going to be so many and I don't want to clog it all up. If there's anything in particular, I might throw that out there, but yeah, I won't drone on, at least maybe I won't. We shall see. So let me just check the technicals. I have added music. I hope it's not too loud. Just for a little something in the background. Is it not even going? Is that going? Oh. Oops, what am I doing? Okay. One is good. Oh no. And then we're going to get right into it with the Raven because that is what is first. How do I do this again? Boom. Ooh. Ba-ba-da-bum. Beautiful. Okay, we are going to get started with the Raven. And I apologize for any sort of reading of the poetry. I feel like I tend to do that. I'm a very rhythmic sort of a person. And I never really got out of it when it came to poetry. So we will try, or I will try, to make it sound decent. But otherwise, the text shall speak for itself. All right, Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my book's surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here for evermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more." Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortals ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping, something louder than before. Surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore, though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on that placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast, and followed faster till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my sad soul into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy onto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl, whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining, with the lamplight gloating o'er, she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite and nepenthe? Nepenthes? Nepenthes. Nepenthe. We'll just go with nepenthe. Nepenthe. Respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff, this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden if, within the distant Aidenn, it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. Does that mean he's dead? It's been a while since I've read this. I think so. Yeah. Oh, that was fun. That was good. I do. I enjoy poetry when it's well done. Um, and the older stuff is always the best. Oh, all right. And now we go on to Lenore. Make sure that's good. All right. Ah, Broken is the golden bowl, the spirit flown forever. Let the bell toll. A saintly soul floats on the Stygian river. And Guy de Vere, hast thou no tear? Weep now or nevermore. See, on yon drear and rigid bier low lies thy love Lenore. Come, let the burial rite be read, the funeral song be sung, an anthem for the queenliest dead that ever died so young, a dirge for her, the doubly dead, in that she died so young. Wretches, ye loved Wretches, ye loved her for her wealth, and hated her for her pride. And when she fell in feeble health, ye blessed her that she died. How shall the ritual then be read, the requiem how be sung by you, by yours the evil eye, by yours the slanderous tongue, that did to death the innocents that died, and died so young? Peccavimus, but rave not thus, and let a Sabbath song go up to God so solemnly the dead may feel no wrong. The sweet Lenore hath gone before with hope that flew beside, leaving thee wild for the dear child that should have been thy bride. For her the fair and debonair that now so lowly lies, the life upon her yellow hair, but not within her eyes, the life still there upon her hair, the death upon her eyes. Avaunt, tonight my heart is light, no dirge will I upraise, but waft the angel on her flight with a paean of old days. Let no bell toll, lest her sweet soul, amid its hallowed mirth, should catch the note as it doth float up from the damned earth. To friends above, from fiends below, the indignant ghost is riven, from hell unto a high estate far up within the heaven, from grief and groan to a golden throne beside the King of heaven. Aww. Very sad. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I never really got into actually studying poetry. Kind of like I did a little bit, but it was never my focus. So I have a lot less to say about poetry than just general fiction. So I guess I'll just keep trucking along. So hymn. At morn, at noon, at twilight dim, Maria, thou hast heard my hymn. In joy and woe, in good and ill, Mother of God, be with me still. When the hours flew brightly by, and not a cloud obscured the sky, my soul, lest it should truant be, thy grace did guide to thine and thee. Now when storms of fate o'ercast darkly my present and my past, let my future radiant shine with sweet hopes of thee and thine. And that's it. That was the hymn, or just hymn. We move on to a Valentine. There. A Valentine. For her, this rhyme is penned, whose luminous eyes, brightly expressive as the twins of Leda, shall find her own sweet name that, nestling, lies upon the page, enwrapped from every reader. Search narrowly the lines, they hold a treasure divine, a talisman, an amulet that must be worn at heart. Search well the measure, the words, the syllables. Do not forget the trivialest point, or you may lose your labor. And yet there is in this no Gordian knot, which one might not undo without a saber. If one could merely comprehend the plot, enwritten upon the leaf where now are peering eyes, scintillating soul, there lie, perdues, 3 eloquent words oft uttered in the hearing of poets by poets, as the name is a poet's too. Its letters, although naturally lying, like the knight Pinto, Mendez Ferdinando, still form a synonym for truth. Cease trying. You will not read the riddle, though you do the best you can do. Okay, to translate the address, read the first letter of the first line in connection with the second letter of the second line, third letter of the third line, and it looks like somebody did that for us. So, Francis, Sargentos. What one are we on? Something, Sargentos, Oud. I don't know what it is. Hang on. Yep. What is this called? A Valentine. A Valentine. Francis Sargent Osgood. Oh, okay. I know by name. Huh. Interesting. Well, there's that. Francis Sargent Osgood. Interesting. An acrostic poem. All right, on to the Colosseum. Make sure that's good. Type of the antique Rome. Rich reliquary. Oh, also, sorry, I have to do something for my own self. Oops. Boom. Okay. And then whoop, reliquary, a container for holy relics. The Colosseum. Type of the antique Rome, rich reliquary of lofty contemplation left to time by buried centuries of pomp and power. At length, after so many days of weary pilgrimage and burning thirst for the springs of lore that in thee lie, I kneel an altered and an humble man amid thy shadows, and so drink within my very soul thy grandeur, gloom, and glory. Vastness and age, and memories of eld, silence and desolation and dim night. I feel ye now, I feel ye in your strength, O spells more sure taught Judean king taught in the gardens of Gethsemane. O charms more potent than the rapt Chaldee ever drew down from out the quiet stars. Here where here where a hero fell, a column falls. Here where the mimic eagle glared in gold, a midnight vigil holds the swarthy bat. Here where the dames of Rome their gilded hair wave to the wind, now wave the reed and thistle. Here where on golden throne the monarch lolled, glides spectre-like onto his marble home. Yeah. Oh, there's more. Sorry. Lit by the wan light of the horned moon, the swift and silent lizard of the stones. But stay, these walls, these ivy clad arcades, these mouldering plinths, these sad and blackened shafts, these vague entablatures, these vague entablatures, this crumbling frieze, these shattered cornices, this wreck, this ruin, these stones, alas, these grey stones, are they all of the famed and the colossal left by the corrosive hours to fate and me? Not all, the echoes answer me, not all. Prophetic sounds and loud arise forever from us, and from all ruin unto the wise, as melody from Memnon to the sun. We rule the hearts of the mightiest men, we rule with a despotic sway all giant minds. We are not impotent, we pallid stones. Not all our power is gone, not all our fame, not all the magic of our high renown, not all the wonder that encircles us, not all the mysteries that in us lie, not all the memories that hang upon and cling around about us as a garment, clothing us in a robe of more than glory. I love the descriptions. And there's a lot of references to things that I only have a vague notion of, so I can't say anything about that either. And I don't want to interrupt too much to go and look at things. So hopefully it's making sense. To Helen, I saw thee once only, years ago. I must not say how many, but not many. It was a July midnight, and from out a full-orbed moon that, like thine own soul soaring, sought a precipitate pathway up through heaven, there fell a silvery silken veil of light, with quietude and sultriness and slumber, upon the upturned faces of 1,000 roses that grew in an enchanted garden, where no wind dared to stir, unless on tiptoe, fell on the upturned faces of these roses that gave out, in return for the lovelight, their odorous souls in an ecstatic death, fell on the upturned faces of these roses that smiled and died in this parterre, enchanted by thee and by the poetry of thy presence. Clad all in white upon a violet bank, I saw thee half reclining, while the moon fell on the upturned faces of the roses, and on thine own upturned, alas, in sorrow. Was it not fate that, on this July midnight, was it not fate, whose name is also sorrow, that bade me pause before that garden gate to breathe the incense of those slumbering roses? No footstep stirred, the hated world all slept, save only thee and me. O heaven, O God, how my heart beats in coupling those two words, save only thee and me. I paused, I looked, and in an instant, all things disappeared. Ah, bear in mind, this garden was enchanted. Oh, okay, there's more. The pearly luster of the moon went out. The mossy banks and the meandering paths, the happy flowers and the repining trees, were seen no more. The very roses' odors died in the arms of the adoring airs. All expired save thee, save less than thou, save only the divine light in thine eyes, save but the soul in thine uplifted eyes. I saw but them, they were the world to me. I saw but them, saw only them for hours, saw only them until the moon went down. What wild heart histories seemed to lie enwritten upon those crystalline, celestial spheres. How dark a woe, yet how sublime a hope. How silently serene a sea of pride. How daring an ambition, yet how deep, how fathomless a capacity for love. But now at length dear Diane sank from sight into a western couch of thundercloud, and thou, a ghost, amid the entombing trees didst glide away. Only thine eyes remained. They would not go. They never yet have gone, lighting my lonely pathway home that night. They have not left me, as my hopes have, since. They follow me, they lead me through the years. They are my ministers, yet I their slave. Their office is to illumine and enkindle. My duty, to be saved by their bright light, and purified in their electric fire, and sanctified in their Elysian fire. They fill my soul with beauty, which is hope, and are far up in heaven. The stars I kneel to in the sad, silent watches of my night, while even in the meridian glare of day, I see them still, two sweetly scintillant Venuses, unextinguished by the sun. That was beautiful. And I thought it was interesting, contrasting how he wrote about those eyes compared to, I can't remember which one we just read recently, where the eyes were less than divine and more eerie and gruesome. So yes, that one was beautiful. I enjoyed that one very much. Very descriptive, and the imagery was great. I don't know how much more I can say about that. It was very vivid, to me at least. So, to someone. Not long ago, the writer of these lines, in the mad pride of intellectuality, maintained the power of words, denied that Eve? A thought arose within. We'll just go with that. To someone, I'm going to start over. To someone, not long ago, the writer of these lines, in the mad pride of intellectuality, maintained the power of words, denied that Eve. That Eve a thought arose within the human brain beyond the utterance of the human tongue. And now, as if in mockery of that boast, two words, two foreign soft dissyllables, Italian tones made only to be murmured by angels dreaming in the moonlit dew that hangs like chains of pearl on Hermon Hill, have stirred from out the abysses of his heart, unthought-like thoughts that are the souls of thought, richer, far wilder, far diviner visions than even the seraph harper, Israfel, who has the sweetest voice of all God's creatures, could hope to utter. And I, my spells are broken, the pen falls powerless from my shivering hand. With thy dear name as text, thou bidden by thee, I cannot write, I cannot speak or think. Alas, I cannot feel, for 'tis not feeling, this standing motionless upon the golden threshold of the wide open gate of dreams, gazing entranced adown the gorgeous vista, and thrilling as I see upon the right, upon the left, and all the way along, amid unpurpled vapors, far away to where the prospect terminates, thee only. Interesting. I'm going to have to probably go back to that one. Not long ago. Okay. It is. It's interesting how, well, I mean, and maybe it's just this section that it's more of like sort of love and beautiful imagery, whereas most of his fiction, his short stories, are more, again, horrific. So I wonder if I'm sure people have discussed that and they have theories, and I'll look at some point. Ooh, ulalume? Ulalume? Ulalum? Is there a part where I can... This one I kind of want to just look up just so that I know, oops. May, so I don't at least mess anything Ulalum. Ulalum? And it's a name, so it shouldn't be an issue. So Ulalum. The skies they were ashen and sober, the leaves they were crisped and sere, the leaves they were withering and sere. It was night in the lonesome October of my most immemorial year. It was hard by the dim lake of Auber, in the misty mid-region of Weir. It was down by the dank tarn of Auber, in the ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. Here once, through an alley titanic, of Cyprus I roamed with my soul, of Cyprus with Psyche, my soul. These were days when my heart was volcanic, as the Soriac rivers that roll, as the lavas that restlessly roll their sulphurous currents down Yannick in the ultimate climes of the pole, that groan as they roll down Mount Yannick in the realms of the boreal pole. Our talk had been serious and sober, but our thoughts they were palsied and sere. Our memories were treacherous and sere, for we knew not the month was October, and we marked not the night of the year, ah night of all nights in the year. We noted not the dim lake of Auber, though once we had journeyed down here, remembered not the dank tarn of Auber, nor the ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. And now, as the night was senescent, and star-dials pointed to morn, as the star-dials hinted of morn, at the end of our path a liquescent and nebulous lustre was born, out of which a miraculous crescent arose with a duplicate horn. Astartes, bediamond crescent, distinct with its duplicate horn. And I said, she is warmer than Diane, she rolls through an ether of sighs, she revels in a region of sighs. She has seen that the tears are not dry on these cheeks where the worm never dies, and has come past the stars of the lion to point us the path to the skies, to the Lethean peace of the skies. Come up, in despite of the lion, to shine on us with her bright eyes. Come up through the lair of the lion, with love in her luminous eyes. But Psyche, uplifting her finger, said, sadly, this star I mistrust. Sorry. Her pallor I strangely mistrust. Oh, hasten, oh, let us not linger. Oh, fly, let us fly, for we must. In terror she spoke, letting sink her wings until they trailed in the dust. In agony sobbed, letting sink her plumes till they trailed in the dust, till they sorrowfully trailed in the dust. I replied, this is nothing but dreaming. Let us on by this tremulous light. Let us bathe in this crystalline light. Its Sibylic splendor is beaming with hope and in beauty tonight. See, it flickers up the sky through the night. Ah, we safely may trust to its gleaming, and be sure it will lead us aright. We safely may trust to a gleaming that cannot but guide us aright, since it flickers up to heaven through the night. Thus I pacified Psyche and kissed her, and tempted her out of her gloom, and conquered her scruples and gloom. And we passed to the end of the vista, but were stopped by the door of a tomb, by the door of a legended tomb. And I said, what is written, sweet sister, on the door of this legended tomb? She replied, Ulalum, Ulalum, 'tis the vault of thy lost Ulalum. Then my heart, it grew ashen and sober, as the leaves that were crisped and sere, as the leaves that were withering and sere. And I cried it was surely October on this very night of last year, that I journeyed down here, that I brought a dread burden down here, on this night of all nights in the year. Ah, what demon has tempted me here? Well I know now, this dim lake of Auber, this misty mid-region of Weir. Well I know now, this dank tarn of Auber, this ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. Oh, that was interesting. So I just have to quick go back a little bit. It was hard. Here once through an alley, I roamed with my soul of Cyprus with Psyche. Okay, interesting. Um, I mean, you just heard it too, but I think it's just so interesting that the he's traveling with Psyche. Oh, so sad, whatever, and then yeah, goes and finds his lost Ulalum on the very day, a year later, that he brought her there. That was very sad. That was beautiful and very sad. And there was something else. I really enjoyed the form of that one, the repetition with slight adjustments. I am sure it is called something, but I don't know what it is. But I enjoyed it. All right. Anyway, the bells. Hear the sledges with the bells, silver bells. What a world of merriment their melody foretells. How they tinkle, tinkle, tinkle in the icy air of night, while the stars that oversprinkle all the heavens seem to twinkle with a crystalline delight. keeping time, time, time in a sort of runic rhyme to the tintinnabulation that so musically wells from the bells, 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 from the jingling and the tinkling of the bells. Hear the mellow wedding bells, golden bells, what a world of happiness their harmony foretells, through the balmy air of night, how they ring out their delight, from the molten golden notes, and all in tune, what a liquid ditty floats to the turtle dove that listens, while she gloats on the moon. Oh, from out the sounding cells, what a gush of euphony voluminously wells, how it swells, how it dwells on the future, how it tells of the rapture that impels to the swinging and the ringing of the bells, 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 of the bells, 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 to the rhyming and the chiming of the bells. Hear the loud alarum bells, brazen bells, what a tale of terror now their turbulency tells, in the startled ear of night how they scream out their affright, too much horrified to speak, they can only shriek, shriek out of tune, in a clamorous appealing to the mercy of the fire, in a mad expostulation with the deaf and frantic fire, leaping higher, 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 with a desperate desire, and a resolute endeavor, now, now to sit or never, by the side of the pale-faced moon. Oh, the bells, 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 what a tale their terror tells of despair, how they clang and clash and roar, what a horror they outpour on the bosom of the palpitating air. Yet the ear it fully knows, by the twanging and the clanging, how the danger ebbs and flows. Yet the ear distinctly tells, in the jangling and the wrangling, how the danger sinks and swells, by the sinking or the swelling in the anger of the bells. Of the bells, of the bells, 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 in the clamor and the clangor of the bells. Hear the tolling of the bells, iron bells, what a world of solemn thought their monody compels. In the silence of the night, how we shiver with affright, at the melancholy menace of their tone. For every sound that floats from the rust within their throats is a groan, and the people, ah the people, they that dwell up in the steeple, all alone, and who tolling, 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 in that muffled monotone, feel a glory in so rolling on the human heart of stone. They are neither man nor woman, they are neither brute nor human, they are ghouls, and their king it is who tolls, and he rolls, 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 a paean from the bells, and his merry bosom swells with the paean of the bells, and he dances and he yells, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme, to the paean of the bells, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme, to the throbbing of the bells. Of the bells, 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 to the sobbing of the bells, keeping time, 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 as he knells, 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 in a happy runic rhyme, to the rolling of the bells, of the bells, 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 to the tolling of the bells, of the bells, 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 to the moaning and the groaning of the bells. Ah, that was a lot of bells. That's a fun one. I enjoy that one. It's probably more fun to read than it is to say though. But yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that. Oh no, what is that called? Uh, it's a poetry thing that I did know at one point. Nope, nope, not that one. The one where things sound like things, which is incredibly descriptive. But yeah, like using the name of the sound in order to make the sound. I don't remember what it's called. An enigma. Seldom we find, says Solomon Dun Dunce, half an idea in the profoundest sonnet. Through all the flimsy things we see at once, as easily as through a Naples bonnet, trash of all trash, how can a lady don it? Yet heavier far than your Petrarchan stuff, owl downy nonsense that the faintest puff twirls into trunk paper the while you con it. And veritably soul is right enough. The general Tucker manatees are errant bubbles, ephemeral and so transparent, but this is, now, you may depend upon it, stable, opaque, immortal, all by dint of the dear names that lie concealed within it. So, because I'm pretty sure, yeah. So this one is a puzzle too. And this, Tucker manatees. That's a fantastic word. I don't know what it means. I'm wondering if... Okay, I must know. If it is a puzzle, if it is an enigma, I must understand it. So it says there are names concealed within it. Everything else, every other sonnet is trash, or many sonnets are trash. This one is not, however, an enigma. Oops, 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 oops. Uh huh, uh huh. Oh, so it's the same thing. So, Sarah. One, two, three, four, five. One, two, three, four, five, six. Sarah. I'll just find what it is. Ba, 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 ba. Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Oh, gosh darn it. We'll just go like this. Name. Sarah Anna Lewis. Why? Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Okay, and the term Tucker manatees refers to Henry Theodore Tuckerman, who wrote light sonnets for the Democratic Review in 1845. Only version printed during an earlier version, only one printed during Poe's lifetime. Tucker manatees was given as Petrarchanatees. Poe had long disliked Tuckerman, whom he called the king of the quietists. Okay. Interesting. Well, that one was fun. And now we're on to Annabel Lee, another one of the more known Poe poems. It's been a while for me, so it shall be potentially surprising. All right, Annabel Lee. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that, long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. Ah! Gosh darn it. Ma. But our love it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee, and the stars never rise but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in the sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. Sad. Okay, and I don't know if it is just Poe or just writers in general of that time. I get. I'm not sure how to say this without sounding kind of callous or were women really that weak in that time? I don't know. That it's just so odd to me. The other thing is the whole fainting, where women fainted all the time. One of there's the two things about that where the corsets were tight, which I understand that absolutely had it happen, or because it was a social thing that you were supposed to do that. But I mean, death is less like you don't just die for social purposes because that kind of defeats the purpose. So yeah, the whole I don't know, the catching a chill and then dying or just declining in general. I guess maybe at that point in time, medical stuff wasn't as good either, so that could also play a part. So I don't know. It's just interesting to me that there are so many, and it could just be him taking not one moment in his life, but potentially one moment and just turning that into various stories of the same nature. So yes. Anyway, that was my thought on that one. Yep. Anyway, to my mother. Because I feel that, in the heavens above, the angels whispering to one another can find among their burning terms of love none so devotional as that of mother. Therefore, by that dear name I long have called you, you who are more than mother unto me, and fill my heart of hearts where death installed you in setting my Virginia's spirit free. My mother, my own mother, who died early, was but the mother of myself, but you are mother to the one I loved so dearly, and thus are dearer than the mother I knew by that infinity with which my wife was dearer to my soul than its soul life. Interesting. Oh, that was lovely. Oh, um, wholesome mother-in-law encounter. The haunted palace. Oh, this should be fun. Okay, take a drink quick. I guess I should be checking things to make sure nothing's going wrong. But we're already so far in, might as well keep going. The Haunted Palace. In the greenest of our valleys by good angels tenanted, once a fair and stately palace, radiant palace, reared its head. In the monarch Thought's dominion it stood there, never seraph spread a pinion over fabric half so fair. Banners yellow, glorious, golden, on its roof did float and flow. This, all this, was in the olden time long ago. And every gentle air that dallied in that sweet day, along the ramparts, plump, plumed and pallid, a winged odor went away. Wanderers in that happy valley, through two luminous windows, saw spirits moving musically to a lute's well-tuned law. Round about a throne where, sitting, Porphyrogeny, in state his glory well befitting, the ruler of the realm was seen. And all with pearl and ruby glowing was the fair palace door, through which came flowing, 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 and sparkling evermore, a troop of echoes whose sweet duty was but to sing, in voices of surpassing beauty, the wit and wisdom of their king. But evil things in robes of sorrow assailed the monarch's high estate. Ah, let us mourn, for never morrow shall dawn upon him desolate. And round about his home the glory that blushed and bloomed is but a dim remembered story of the old time entombed. And travelers now within that valley, through the red-litten windows, see vast forms that move fantastically to a discordant melody, while, like a ghastly rapid river, through the pale door a hideous throng rush out forever and laugh, but smile no more. Ooh, interesting imagery there too, and ideas. Oh, Conqueror Worm. Okay, this one was used within. I cannot remember which one it was. The Conqueror Worm. Was it That's a different thing entirely. I was going to say Lysistrata, but that's a poem. Not a poem, a play. The Conqueror Worm was in. Ligeia. That's what it was. I knew it was an L. So, yeah, so he wrote this one first, and then he included it into Ligeia. Ooh, so much reading. And stops and startings. Okay. So technically, I've read this before. So hopefully I will do better than I did last time. I assume I did. I don't know. We're just going to go. The Conqueror Worm. Which I think I quite enjoyed. I think, yeah, this one's got a little bit more, not gruesome, but eerie, sort of. Yeah. Anyway, you shall see. The Conqueror Worm. Lo, 'tis a gala night within the lonesome latter years. An angel throng, bewinged, bedight in veils, and drowned in tears, sit in a theatre to see a play of hopes and fears, while the orchestra breathes fitfully the music of the spheres. Mimes in the form of God on high mutter and mumble low, and hither and thither fly, mere muppets they who come and go at bidding of vast formless things that shift the scenery to and fro, flapping from out their condor wings invisible woe. That motley drama, oh be sure it shall not be forgot, with its phantom chased for evermore by a crowd that sees it not, through a circle that ever returneth into the selfsame spot, and much of madness, and more of sin, and horror the soul of the plot. But see, amid the mimic rout, a crawling shape intrude, a blood-red thing that writhes from out the scenic solitude. It writhes with mortal pangs, the mimes become its food, and the angels sob at vermin fangs, its inhuman gore imbued. Out, out are the lights, out all, and over each quivering form, the curtain, a funeral pall, comes down with the rush of a storm, and the angels, all pallid and wan, uprising, unveiling, affirm that the play is the tragedy man, and its hero, the conqueror worm. Yes. Oh, I do. I don't know. For some reason, I like really good descriptions of gore. That I don't know. That kind of means something, not just stabby stabby, and blood goes everywhere, but like really good. That kind of like make you that make you feel something. Um, because I like a little bit of discomfort because it does it strengthens you against that sort of thing. So that's probably why. That's the logical and reasonable explanation for why I like that sort of thing. And yeah, that whole last bit about the play, the tragedy man, and hero, the conqueror worm. Oh, that's great. I enjoyed that. Yes. To Francis S. Osgood, read, as we sort of met through the other poem. Thou wouldst be loved, then let thy heart from its present pathway part not. Being everything which now thou art, be nothing which thou art not. So with the world thy gentle ways, thy grace, thy more than beauty, shall be an endless theme of praise, and love a simple duty. Oh, that was nice. Oops. More water. And it does. It looks like everything is going okay, at least over here. We'll see about the actual recording later on. Hopefully it's good. But I'm having fun, so that's all that matters. Hope you're having fun too. That matters as well. 2-1 in Paradise. Thou wast that all to me, love, for which my soul did pine. A green isle in the sea, love, a fountain and a shrine, all wreathed with fairy fruits and flowers, and all the flowers were mine. Ah, dream too bright to last, a starry hope that didst arise, but to be overcast. A voice from out the future cries, on, but o'er the past, dim gulf, my spirit hovering lies mute, motionless, aghast. For alas, alas with me, the light of life is o'er. No more, no more, no more. Such language holds the solemn sea to the sands upon the shore. Shall bloom the thunder-blasted tree, or the stricken eagle soar. And all my days are trances, and all my nightly dreams are where thy dark eye glances, and where thy footstep gleams, in what ethereal dances, by what eternal streams. Oh, and that's it. Interesting. Oh, so he's the one that died this time? So nonchalant. Um ah ah. Oh, okay, yes, 2-1 in Paradise. Got it. Yes. I think. I assume that he is dead and thus in paradise. I assume. Don't take my word for it. The Valley of Unrest. Once it smiled a silent dell where the people did not dwell. They had gone unto the wars, trusting to the mild-eyed stars, nightly from their azure towers to keep watch above the flowers, in the midst of which all day the red sunlight lazily lay. Now each visitor shall confess the sad valley's restlessness. Nothing there is motionless, nothing save the airs that brood over the magic solitude. Ah, by no wind are stirred those trees that palpitate like the chill seas around the misty Hebrides. Ah, by no wind those clouds are driven that rustle through the unquiet heaven, uneasily from morn till even. Sorry, that's a weird thing to say. Ah, by no wind those clouds are driven that rustle through the unquiet heaven uneasily from morn till even, over the violets there that lie in myriad types of the human eye, over the lilies there that wave and weep above a nameless grave. They wave, from out their fragrant tops, eternal dews come down in drops. They weep, from off their delicate stems, perennial tears descend in gems. I notice he has a lot of gem and jewel imagery in things. And I thought that was interesting. I mean, fair enough. The city in the sea. Lo, death has reared himself a throne in a strange city lying alone, far down within the dim west, where the good and the bad and the worst and the best have gone to their eternal rest. There are shrines and palaces and towers, time-eaten towers that tremble not, resemble nothing that is ours. Around by lifting winds forgot, resignedly beneath the sky the melancholy waters lie. No rays from the holy heaven come down on the long night time of that town, but light from out the lurid sea streams up the turrets silently, gleams up the pinnacles far and free, up domes, up spires, up kingly halls, up thanes, up Babylon like walls, up shadowy long forgotten bowers of sculptured ivy and stone flowers, up many and many a marvelous shrine whose wreathed friezes intertwine the vial, the violet, and the vine. So is viol different than violet? Oh, yes, of course. Musical stringed instrument. Oh, interesting. Oh, is there more? Oh, shoot. Oh, sorry. Resignedly. Oops. There. Oops. Oh, no. Come back. Resignedly beneath the sky, the melancholy waters lie. So blend the turrets and shadows there that all seem pendulous in air, while from a proud tower in the town, death looks gigantically down. There open fanes and gaping graves yawn level with the luminous waves, but not the riches there that lie in each idol's diamond eye, not the gaily jeweled, tempt the waters from their bed, for no ripples curl, alas, along that wilderness of glass, no swellings tell that winds may be upon some far-off happier sea, no heavings hint that winds have been on seas less hideously serene. But lo, a stir is in the air, the wave, there is a movement there, as if the towers had thrust aside, in slightly sinking the dull tide, as if their tops had feebly given a void within the filmy heaven. The waves have now a redder glow, the hours are breathing faint and low, and when amid no earthly moans, down, down that town shall settle hence, hell rising from 1,000 thrones shall do it reverence. So did the entire town get driven in? Maybe, I think. Oh, yeah, the city in the sea. There we go. Okay. Yay. I got it right, kind of. I'm just wondering if it's written in a strange far down. I don't know. I can't remember if the city was always in the water or if it got driven in there. So I don't know. Oh gosh, my comprehension is less than is not at full capacity when I'm reading aloud. Apparently, and especially with poetry when well, like older language as well as poetry, which requires a little bit more comprehension, which I have less of. The Sleeper. At midnight in the month of June, I stand beneath the mystic moon. An opiate vapor, dewy, dim, exhales from out her golden rim, and softly dripping drop by drop upon the quiet mountain top, steals drowsily and musically into the universal valley. The rosemary nods upon the grave, the lily lolls upon the wave. Wrapping the fog about its breast, the ruin moulders into rest, looking like Lethe, see, the lake, a conscious slumber seems to take, and would not for the world awake. All beauty sleeps, and lo, where lies, her casement open to the skies, Irene with her destinies. O lady bright, can it be right, this window open to the night? The wanton airs from the tree-top laughingly through the lattice drop, the bodiless airs, a wizard rout, flit through thy chamber, in and out. And wave the curtain canopy, so fitfully, so fearfully, above the closed and fringed lid, neath which thy slumbering soul lies hid, that o'er the floor and down the wall, like ghosts, the shadows rise and fall. O lady dear, hast thou no fear? Why and what art thou dreaming here? Sure thou art come o'er far-off seas, a wonder to these garden trees. Strange is thy pallor, strange thy dress, strange above all thy length of tress, and this all solemn silentness. The lady sleeps. Oh, may her sleep which is enduring so be deep. Heaven have her in its sacred keep. This chamber changed for one more holy, this bed for one more melancholy. I pray to God that she may lie forever with unopened eye, while the dim sheeted ghosts go by. My love, she sleeps. Oh, may her sleep as it is lasting so be deep. Soft may the worms about her creep, far in the forest dim and old. For her may some tall vault unfold, some vault that oft hath flung its black and winged panels fluttering back, triumphant o'er the crested palls of her grand family funerals, some sepulchre remote, alone, against whose portal she hath thrown in childhood many an idle stone, some tomb from out whose sounding door she ne'er shall force an echo more. Thrilling to think, poor child of sin, it was the dead who groaned within. Wait, what? So, hang on. Oh, okay. So, an opiate vapor, so she took some drugs. Uh huh. Ruin mold is rest. Uh huh. Conscious slumber. Can't be right. And she leaves the window open. And since we already know the 1800s weakness, it's not a good thing. So she's drug slumber. And now he's hoping she dies, or is she? I was thinking that maybe he was hoping she would die, but I'm thinking it makes a little more sense that she does die. And he's just hoping that she is comfortable in that. Interesting. And I like the imagery there too. I do. I enjoy imagery very much. I have a very vivid imagination, so it works very well on me. Silence. There are some qualities, some incorporate things that have a double life, which thus is made a type of that twin entity which springs from matter and light, evinced in solid and shade. There is a twofold silence, sea and shore, body and soul. One dwells in lonely places, newly with grass o'ergrown. Some solemn graces, some human memories and tearful lore render him terrorless. His name's no more. He is the corporate silence, dread him not. No power hath he of evil in himself. But should some urgent fate, untimely lot, bring thee to meet his shadow, nameless elf, that haunteth the lone regions where hath trod no foot of man, commend thyself to God. So is no more death? Body and soul, type of twin entity, matter and light, I don't know. If I actually really did look at it, I could probably whip up an analysis. But I won't take the time to do that now. I shall continue with a dream within a dream. So, a dream within a dream. Okay, okay. Keeping that in mind, take this kiss upon the brow, and in parting from you now, thus much let me avow, you are not wrong who deem that my days have been a dream. Yet if hope has flown away in a night or in a day, in a vision or in none, is it therefore the less gone? All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. I stand amid the roar of a surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the golden sand. How few, yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep, while I weep, while I weep. O God, can I not grasp them with a tighter clasp? O God, can I not save one from the pitiless wave? Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream? Interesting, interesting. Is it? Is it? Dreamland. By a route obscure and lonely, haunted by ill angels only, where an eidolon named Night on a black throne reigns upright. I have reached these lands but newly from an ultimate dim Thule, from a wild weird clime that lieth sublime out of space, out of time. Bottomless vales and boundless floods, and chasms and caves and titan woods, with forms that no man can discover for the dews that drip all over. Mountains toppling evermore into seas without a shore, seas that restlessly aspire, surging onto skies of fire. Lakes that endlessly outspread their lone waters, lone and dead, their still waters, still and chilly, with the snows of the lolling lily. By the lakes that thus outspread their lone waters, lone and dead, Their sad waters, sad and chilly, with the snows of the lolling lily, by the mountains, near the river murmuring lowly, murmuring ever, by the grey woods, by the swamp where the toad and the newt encamp, by the dismal tarns and pools where dwell the ghouls, by each spot the most unholy, in each nook most melancholy. There the traveller meets aghast sheeted memories of the past, shrouded forms that start and sigh as they pass the wanderer by, white-robed forms of friends long given, in agony to the earth and heaven. For the heart whose woes are legion, 'tis a peaceful, soothing region. For the spirit that walks in shadow, 'tis, oh, 'tis an Eldorado. But the traveler traveling through it may not, dare not openly view it. Never its mysteries are exposed to the weak human eye unclosed. So wills its king, who hath forbid the uplifting of the fringed lid. And thus the sad soul that here passes beholds it but through darkened glasses. Where an eidolon, named Night, on a black throne reigns upright, I have wandered home, but newly, from this ultimate dim Thule. Though, is he dead too? And I read a book. Well, it was a web series with Eidolon in it. So that was incredibly interesting to have in there. It was Worm and Ward, by the way, the parahumans universe. If interested, I quite enjoyed it. It's superpowers and philosophy and the human condition. So yeah, it was fun. Anyway, moving on to Zanti. We'll just say Zanti, and I apologize if it sounds weird. To Zanti. Fair isle, that from the fairest of all flowers, Fair isle, that from the fairest of all flowers, thy gentlest of all gentle names dost take. How many memories of what radiant hours at sight of thee and thine at once awake? How many scenes of what departed bliss? How many thoughts of what entombed hopes? How many visions of a maiden that is no more? No more upon thy verdant slopes. No more. Alas, that magical sad sound transforming all. Thy charms shall please no more. Thy memory no more. Accursed ground, henceforth I hold thy flower enameled shore. O hyacinthine isle, O purple Zanti, Isola d'oro, fior di Levanti. Levanti is rise. I'll see if I can find. Well, actually, can I just please say you translate? Oops, go away. Go away. No. Although maybe I will at some point. New. Go. Thank you. Translate. Golden Island. Fior di Levanti. Did it just say? Yeah. So, oh, Iola d'Oro. So, Island of Gold. Fior. Something of rise. I'll check it quick. Fior di Levante. Translate. Ba-da-bum-bum. Flower of the Levant. So I had it completely wrong. Fior. Oh, Fior is flower of Levant. All right, Golden Island, flower of Levant. Okay. So it's just, yeah, okay. It's just, go away. There. So it's just continuing with this, but in Italian. Beautiful. But sad because the maiden is gone. And I'll make sure I get this one right too. Eulalie. Eulalie. Okay, we'll just go with that. Eulalie. I dwelt alone in a world of moan, and my soul was a stagnant tide, till the fair and gentle Eulalie became my blushing bride, till the yellow-haired young Eulalie became my smiling bride. Ah, less bright the stars of the night than the eyes of the radiant girl, and never a flake that the vapor can make with the moon tints of purple and pearl, can vie with the modest Eulalie's most unregarded curl, can compare with the bright-eyed Eulalie's most humble and careless curl. Now doubt, now pain come never again, for her soul gives me sigh for sigh, and all day long shines bright and strong Astarte within the sky, while ever to her dear Eulalie upturns her matron eye, while ever to her young Eulalie upturns her violet eye. Yeah. Hey, and no one died in that one, I think. There's always the possibility that it's hidden in there. But no, I think so. Beautiful. El Dorado. Ah, come back. All right, here we go. There we go. Gaily bedight, a gallant knight, in sunshine and in shadow, had journeyed long, singing a song in search of El Dorado. But he grew old, this knight so bold, and o'er his heart a shadow fell, as he found no spot of ground that looked like El Dorado. And as his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim shadow. Shadow, said he, where can it be, this land of El Dorado? Over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow, ride, boldly ride, the shade replied, if you seek for El Dorado. I think the shade is lying. Could be. I don't know. I don't know. Israfel, and the angel Israfel, whose heartstrings are a lute, and who has the sweetest voice of all God's creatures, the Quran. Israfel. In heaven a spirit doth dwell, whose heartstrings are a lute. None sing so wildly well as the angel Israfel, and the giddy stars, so legends tell, ceasing their hymns, attend the spell of his voice all mute. Tottering above in her highest noon, the enamored moon blushes with love, while to listen the red levin with the rapid Pleiads even, which were seven, pauses in heaven. And they say the starry choir and the other listening things that Israfeli's fire is owing to that lyre by which he sits and sings, the trembling living wire of those unusual strings. But the skies that angel trod, where deep thoughts are a duty, where love's a grown-up god, where the houri glances are imbued. Oops, sorry, I just want to see if I didn't want to accidentally mispronounce it. Houri. Huh, right on. I'm just going to say houri because it sounds weird otherwise. Where the houri glances are imbued with all the beauty which we worship in a star. Therefore thou art not wrong, Israfeli, who despisest an unimpassioned song. To thee the laurels belong, best bard, because the wisest, merrily live and long. The ecstasies above with thy burning measures suit, thy grief, thy joy, thy hate, thy love, with the fervor of thy lute. Well may the stars be mute. Yes, heaven is thine, but this is a world of sweets and sours. Our flowers are merely flowers, and the shadow of thy perfect bliss is the sunshine of ours. If I could dwell where Israfel hath dwelt, and he where I, he might not sing so wildly well a mortal melody, while a bolder note than this might swell from my lyre within the sky. Yeah, music used to... lamenting about what used to be, and back in my day when it wasn't even my day. But there's so many even can you say cosmological references to music, or using music as like a starting creation point, or just having a significant part in existence and life and its beauty. And I don't want to say compared to the music of today, but like there is something to the how it's contrived, like shallowness over depth. So the contrived part. There's certain scientifically certain sounds get into the mind, right? again, it's kind of like sugar, where sugar, you taste it, it's sweet, and it gets into the mind, you want more, but it's not nutritious, it's not deep. And then with music, there's certain um, tones, certain chords, what have you, phrases within the music that can get like the earworm, get into your mind and go and go and go, and that's what makes money, right? But it's not deep. And then there is like, yeah, past music or other sorts of music. There is stuff today, um, but there's other music where it doesn't necessarily catch right away, but it does have that greater depth to it. Off the somewhat soapbox. I do. I enjoy the contrast and how things differ. And it does. It demonstrates character of today, of the past, where we could go, and yeah. Anyway, for Annie, thank heaven, the crisis, the danger is past, and the lingering illness is over at last, and the fever called living is conquered at last. Sadly, I know I am shorn of my strength, and no muscle I move as I lie at full length, but no matter, I feel I am better at length, and I rest so composedly now in my bed that any beholder might fancy me dead, might start at beholding me, thinking me dead. The moaning and groaning, the sighing and sobbing are quieted now with that horrible throbbing at heart, with that horrible throbbing at heart. Ah, that horrible, horrible throbbing. The sickness, the nausea, the pitiless pain have ceased with the fever that maddened my brain, with the fever called living that burned in my brain. And oh, of all tortures, that torture, the worst, has abated, the terrible torture of thirst, for the naphthaline river of passion accursed. I have drank of a water that quenches all thirst, of a water that flows with a lullaby sound from a spring but a very few feet underground, from a cavern not very far down underground. And ah, let it never be foolishly said that my room it is gloomy and narrow my bed, for man never slept in a different bed, and to sleep you must slumber in just such a bed. My tantalized spirit here blandly reposes, forgetting or never regretting its roses, its old agitations of myrtles and roses. Oops. For now, while so quietly lying, it fancies a holier odor about it of pansies, a rosemary odor, commingled with pansies, with rue and the beautiful Puritan pansies. And so it lies happily bathing in many a dream of the truth and the beauty of Annie, drowned in a bath of the tresses of Annie. She tenderly kissed me, she fondly caressed, and then I fell gently to sleep on her breast, deeply to sleep from the heaven of her breast. When the light was extinguished, she covered me warm, and she prayed to the angels to keep me from harm, to the queen of the angels to shield me from harm. And I lie so composedly now in my bed, knowing her love, that you fancy me dead, and I rest so contentedly now in my bed, with her love at my breast, that you fancy me dead. That you shudder to look at me, thinking me dead, but my heart it is brighter than all of the many stars in the sky, for it sparkles with Annie, it glows with the light of the love of my Annie, with the thought of the light of the eyes of my Annie. So, was Annie dead first, and now he's happy to be dying as well? And he only seems dead physically, but he's really alive with Annie in the afterlife. Potentially, maybe. A very short one. To someone. I heed not that my earthly lot hath little of earth in it, that years of love have been forgot in the hatred of a minute. I mourn not that the desolate are happier sweet than I, but that you sorrow for my fate, who am a passerby. Interesting. I liked this, by the way. Come back. Huh. Moving on, bridal ballad. The ring is on my hand, and the wreath is on my brow. Satins and jewels grand are all at my command, and I am happy now. And my Lord, he loves me well, but when first he breathed his vow, I felt my bosom swell, for the words rang as a knell, and the voice seemed his who fell in the battle down the dell, and who is happy now. But he spoke to reassure me, and he kissed my pallid brow, while a reverie came o'er me, and to the churchyard bore me, and I sighed to him before me, thinking him dead dolor me. Oh, I am happy now. And thus the words were spoken, and this the plighted vow. And though my faith be broken, and though my heart be broken, behold the golden token that proves me happy now. Would God I could awaken, for I dream I know not how, and my soul is sorely shaken, lest an evil step be taken, lest the dead who is forsaken, and it may not be happy now. Wait, so who died in the It does not. I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things where she's imagining, oh, but what if he dies? And so that's cause for worry, even though it's not something she could do anything about, even if it did happen. And it's not likely to happen, potentially. Anyway, to potentially Francis. We're going to potentially assume it is Francis. Beloved, amid the earnest woes that crowd around my earthly path, drear path, alas, where grows not even one lonely rose, my soul at least a solace hath in dreams of thee, and therein knows an Eden of bland repose. And thus thy memory is to me like some enchanted far-off isle, in some tumultuous sea, some ocean throbbing far and free with storms, but where meanwhile serenest skies continually just o'er that one bright island smile. Oh, beautiful. Whoa. Yeah, there were a bunch of plays at the end of this as well, and since it's a back and forth, I am not. Yeah, we're gonna go with the poems written in youth. Uh, I'm not. I'm less likely to do the play situation in this medium, just because I don't know. I just think it would be weird to. I feel like I would have to say the names of them, or otherwise try and do different voices, but I don't want to do that because I'm not good at it. So I will probably read those on my own. If I can figure out a better way to do it, I don't know. I'll look into it. We'll see. But for now, we're moving on to this, and I'm actually curious to see what page I'm on because I was planning on doing all of at least the legitimate poetry. So I'm unsure what this one is. So I might end up. I will quick look, I think. Okay. So I guess this is potentially okay. So sonnet poems written in youth. Does that say private reasons? Some of which have reference to the sin of plagiarism and others to the date of Tennyson's first poems, have induced me, after some hesitation, to republish these. Oh wait, hang on. Okay, so this is Edgar Allan Poe speaking to us. Private reasons, some of which have reference to the sin of plagiarism and others to the date of Tennyson's first poems, have induced me, after some hesitation, to republish these, the crude compositions of my earliest boyhood. Excellent. They are printed verbatim, without alteration from the original edition, the date of which is too remote to be judiciously acknowledged. Oh, this will be fun. Okay. Sonnet to Science. Science, true daughter of old time thou art, who alterest all things with thy peering eyes, why preyest thou thus upon the poet's heart, vulture, whose wings are dull realities? How should he love thee, or how deem thee wise, who wouldst not leave him in his wandering to seek for treasure in the jeweled skies, albeit he soared with an undaunted wing? Hast thou not dragged Diana from her car, and driven the Hamadryad from the wood, to seek a shelter in some happier star? Hast thou not torn the Naiad from her flood, the Elfin from the green grass, and from me the summer dream beneath the tamarind tree? Oh, that was fun. Al Araf. This looks like a very. A star was discovered by Tycho Brahe, which appeared suddenly in the heavens, attained in a few days a brilliancy surpassing that of Jupiter, then as suddenly disappeared, and has never been seen since. Interesting. Um, was yes, just this past December, was it Jupiter and Venus, which came together in the sky to look like a very bright star. Or was it another one too? No, it was just the two, I think. And I didn't get to see it where I was, and I think that was kind of true for a lot of people, which is very, very sad and unfortunate. But yeah, so interesting. Al Araf, part one. So he was into science as well, yeah, interesting. I love that. Oh, nothing earthly save the ray thrown back from flowers of beauty's eye, as in those gardens where the day springs from the gems of circasy. Oh, nothing earthly save the thrill of melody in woodland rill, or music of the passion-hearted, joy's voice so peacefully departed, that like the murmur in the shell its echo dwelleth and will dwell. Oh, nothing of the dross of ours, yet all the beauty, all the flowers, that list our love and deck our bowers, adorn yon world afar, afar, the wandering star. 'Twas a sweet time for Nessachi, for there her world lay lolling on the golden air, near four bright suns, a temporary rest, an oasis in desert of the blessed. Away, away, mid seas of rays that roll, that roll empyrean splendor o'er the unchained soul, the soul that scarce, the billows are so dense, can struggle to its destined eminence. To distant spheres from time to time she rode, and late to ours, the favored one of God. But now the ruler of an anchored realm, she throws aside the scepter, leaves the helm, and leaves the helm, and amid incense and high spiritual hymns, laves in quadruple light her angel limbs. Now happiest, loveliest in yon lovely earth, when sprang the idea of beauty into birth, falling in wreaths through many a startled star, like woman's hair mid pearls, until afar it lit on hills Achaean, and there dwelt. She looked into infinity and knelt. Rich clouds for canopies about her curled, fit emblems of the model of her world, seen but in beauty, not impeding sight, of other beauty glittering through the light. A wreath that twined each starry form around, and all the opaled air in color bound. All hurriedly she knelt upon a bed of flowers, of lilies such as reared the head, on Santa Mara Olim de I don't know, on the fair Capo Ducato, and sprang so eagerly around about to hang upon the flying footsteps of deep pride, of her, Sappho, who loved a mortal, and so died. The cephalica, budding with young bees, upreared its purple stem around her knees. The bee's knees. Star. This flower is much noticed by Leeuwenhoek and Turnefort. The bee, feeding upon its blossom, becomes intoxicated. And a gemmy flower of Trebizond misnamed, inmate of highest stars, where erst it shamed all other loveliness. Its honeyed dew, the fabled nectar that the heathen knew, deliriously sweet, was dropped from heaven, and fell on gardens of the unforgiven in Trebizond. And on a sunny flower, so like its own above that, to this hour, it still remaineth, torturing the bee with madness and unwonted reverie. In heaven and all its environs, the leaf and blossom of the fairy plant, in grief disconsolate linger, grief that hangs her head, repenting follies that full long have fled, heaving her white breast to the balmy air, like guilty beauty, chastened and more fair. Nyctanthes, too, as sacred as the light, she fears to perfume, perfuming the night. Clytia, the chrysanthemum peruvianum, or to employ a better known term, the turnsole, which turns continually towards the sun, covers itself, like Peru, the country from which it comes, with dewy clouds, which cool and refresh its flowers during the most violent heat of the day. Bide Saint Pierre. And Clytia, pondering between many a sun, while pettish tears adown her petals run, There is cultivated in the king's garden at Paris a species of serpentine aloes without prickles, whose large and beautiful flower exhales a strong odor of the vanilla during the time of its expansion, which is very short. It does not blow till towards the month of July. You then perceive it gradually open its petals, expand them, fade, and die. Saint Pierre. Interesting. And that aspiring flower that sprang on earth and died ere scarce exalted into birth, bursting its odorous heart in spirit to wing its way to heaven from garden of a king. There is found in the Rhone, I feel like I'm not saying that correctly, a beautiful lily of the Vallisnerian kind. Its stem will stretch to the length of 3 or 4 feet, thus preserving its head above water in the swellings of the river. And Vallisnerian lotus thither, and Vallisnerian lotus thither flown from struggling with the waters of the Rhone. The hyacinth, and thy most lovely purple perfume, Zanti, Isola d'oro, fior de Levanti, from the other poem. It is a fiction of the Indians that Cupid was first seen floating in one of these down the river Ganges, and that he still loves the cradle of his childhood. Oh. And the Nelumbo bud that floats forever with Indian Cupid down the holy river. Fair flowers and fairy, to whose care is given to bear the goddess's song in odors up to heaven. And golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints. Reverend St. John. Spirit that dwellest where in the deep sky, the terrible and fair in beauty vie, beyond the line of blue, the boundary of the star, which turneth at the view of thy barrier and thy bar, of the barrier overgone by the comets who were cast from their pride, and from their throne to be drudges till the last, to be carriers of fire, the red fire of their heart, with speed that may not tire, and with pain that shall not part. Who livest, that we know, in eternity we feel, but the shadow of whose brow what spirit shall reveal, though the beings whom thy Nisachi, thy messenger, hath known, have dreamed for thy infinity a model of their own. The humanitarians held that God was to be understood as having really a human form. Source. Thy will is done, O God. The star hath ridden high. Sorry, there is more. Do we want to read all this? I just kind of want to keep reading the poetry. A model of their own. Thy will is done, O God. The star hath ridden high through many a tempest, but she rode beneath thy burning eye, and here in thought to thee, in thought that can alone ascend thy empire, and so be a partner of thy throne. By winged fantasy, my embassy is given, till secrecy shall knowledge be in the environs of heaven. Do we care? Okay, yep. Meh. Strange daughter, Jovis, his lap child of the imagination. That was helpful. And then for this one, it will be sightless, too small to be seen. So we'll keep that in mind for when we get there. She ceased and buried then her burning cheek, abashed amid the lilies there, to seek a shelter from the fervor of his eye. For the stars trembled at the deity. She stirred not, breathed not, for a voice was there, how solemnly pervading the calm air. A sound of silence on the startled ear, which dreamy poets name the music of the sphere. Ours is a world of words. Quiet we call silence, which is the merest word of all. All nature speaks, and even ideal things flap shadowy. Oops, sorry. All nature speaks, and even ideal things flap shadowy sounds from visionary wings. But not so when thus in realms on high the eternal voice of God is passing by, and the red winds are withering in the sky. So sightless, too small to be seen. What though in worlds which sightless cycles run, linked to a little system and one sun, where all my love is folly, and the crowd still think my terrors but the thundercloud, the storm, the earthquake, and the ocean wrath? Will they cross me in my angrier path? What though in worlds which own a single sun, the sands of time grow dimmer as they run? So he's going to talk about fireflies. They will collect in a body and fly off from a common center into innumerable radii. Interesting. And then Therasee, the island mentioned by Seneca, which in a moment arose from the sea to the eyes of astonished mariners. Okay, going. Yet thine is my resplendency, so given to bear my secrets through the upper heaven. Leave tenantless thy crystal home and fly, with all thy train, athwart the moony sky. Apart, like fireflies in Sicilian night, and wing to other worlds another light. Divulge the secrets of thy embassy to the proud orbs that twinkle, and so be to every heart a barrier and a ban, lest the stars totter in the guilt of man. Uprose the maiden in the yellow night, the single mooned eve. On earth we plight our faith to one love, and one moon adore. The birthplace of young beauty had no more. As sprang that yellow star from downy hours, uprose the maiden from her shrine of flowers, and bent o'er sheeny mountain and dim plain her way, and bent o'er sheeny mountain and dim plain her way, but left not yet her Thracian reign. Ah, um, yes, lots of flowers and sciency things, um, which are very interesting. But on one hand, I want to know the things, but also I want to get the full force of the poem. But also, I need to know that in order to get the full force. So it's balancing act. Part 2 of Al Araf. I'll check my technicals. Okay. We're good, I think, I hope. High on a mountain of enameled head, such as the drowsy shepherd on his bed of giant pasturage lying at his ease, raising his heavy eyelid, starts and sees with many a muttered hope to be forgiven, what time the moon is quadrated in heaven. Of rosy head that towering far away into the sunlit ether caught the ray of sunken suns at eve, at noon of night, while the moon danced with the fair stranger light. Upreared upon such height arose a pile of gorgeous columns on the unburthened air, flashing from Parian marble that twin smile far down upon the wave that sparkled there, and nursled the young mountain in its lair. Checking some star which from the ruined roof of shaked Olympus by mischance did fall, of Milton, of molten stars their pavement, such as fall through the even air, besilvering the pall of their own dissolution while they die, adorning then the dwellings of the sky. A dome by linked light from heaven let down, sat gently on these columns as a crown. A window of one circular diamond there looked out above into the purple air. And rays from God shot down that meteor chain, and hallowed all the beauty twice again, save when between the Empyrean and that ring some eager spirit flapped his dusky wing. But on the pillars seraph eyes have seen the dimness of this world, that grayish green that nature loves the best for beauty's grave, lurked in each cornice round each architrave, and every sculptured cherub thereabout that from his marble dwelling peered out, seemed earthly in the shadow of his niche, Achaean statues in a world so rich. Voltaire and speak. Okay. We're just going to move on. Breezes from Tadmor and Persepolis, from Baalbec and the stilly clear abyss of beautiful Gomorrah. Oh, the wave is now upon thee, but too late to save. Sound loves to revel in a summer night, witness the murmur of the gray twilight. Do we care? I have often thought I could distinctly hear the sound of the darkness as it stole over the horizon. Interesting. And fairies use flowers for their charactery. Mary Wise of Windsor. Hang on. Oop. Sound loves to revel in a summer night, witness the murmur of the gray twilight that stole upon the ear of Irico, of many a wild stargazer long ago, that stealeth ever on the ear of him, who musing gazeth on the distance dim, and sees the darkness coming as a cloud. Is not its form, its voice, most palpable and loud? But what is this? It cometh, and it brings a music with it. 'Tis the rush of wings, a pause, and then a sweeping, falling strain, and Nasachi is in her halls again. From the wild energy of wanton haste, her cheeks were flushing and her lips apart. And zone that clung around her gentle waist had burst beneath the heaving of her heart. Within the center of that hall, to breathe, she paused and panted, Xanthe all beneath. the fairy light that kissed her golden hair and longed to rest, yet could but sparkle there. Young flowers were whispering in melody to happy flowers that night, and tree to tree. Fountains were gushing music as they fell in many a starlit grove or moonlit dell. Yet silence came upon material things, fair flowers, bright waterfalls, and angel wings, and sound alone that from the spirit sprang bore burthen to the charm the maiden sang. Also, I did want to mention, um, I've often thought I could distinctly hear the sound of the darkness as it stole over the horizon. Um, Synesthesia um, is um, giving sound or color or character to something that does not naturally or normally have those things. So, like sounds having color, or numbers or letters having color. So, darkness having sound, numbers, letters having sound, that sort of thing. So, I want, because it's also like a condition. There is little trips or something in the mind that actually people can uh, hear numbers, hear colors, or see colors with sound. I have a little bit of it, not to the extent that there are some people who do, and there's I can't remember who it was, but someone uh, like a classical composer actually composed um, a full song using. I think they might have actually created an instrument for it. Anyway, sorry, that's my own little thing. So potentially, Poe may have had something of the sort. Anyway, that's just my thought potential, whatever. Anyway, so we'll see what this in scripture is this passage: the sun shall not harm thee by day, nor the moon by night. It is perhaps not generally known that the moon in Egypt has the effect of producing blindness to those who sleep with the face exposed to its rays, to which circumstance the passage evidently alludes. Interesting. Okay, so that will be coming up. Neath bluebell or streamer, or tufted wild spray that keeps from the dreamer the moonbeam away, bright beings that ponder with half-closing eyes on the stars which your wonder hath drawn from the skies, till they glance through the shade and come down to your brow like eyes of the maiden who calls on you now. Arise from your dreaming in violet bowers, to duty beseeming these star-litten hours, and shake from your tresses encumbered with dew the breath of those kisses that cumber them too. Oh, how without you, love, could angels be blessed, those kisses of true love that lulled ye to rest. Up, shake from your wing each hindering thing, the dew of the night, it would weigh down your flight, and true love caresses, oh, leave them apart. Okay. I was just checking for the note. Oh, okay. It would weigh down your flight, and true love caresses, oh, leave them apart. They are light on the tresses, but lead on the heart. And we're at Ligeia, so the albatross is said to sleep on the wing, and I met with this idea in an old English tale, which I am now unable to obtain and quote from memory. The very essence and, as it were, springhead and origin of all music is the very pleasant sound which the trees of the forest do make when they grow. Yes, so that will be coming up. The sound of trees growing. Ligeia, Ligeia, my beautiful one, whose harshest idea will to melody run. Oh, is it thy will on the breezes to toss, or capriciously still, like the lone albatross, incumbent on night, as she on the air, to keep watch with delight on the harmony there? Ligeia, wherever thy image may be, no magic shall sever thy music from thee. Thou hast bound many eyes in a dreamy sleep, but the strains still arise which thy vigilance keep, the sound of the rain which leaps down to the flower, and dances again in the rhythm of the shower, the murmur that springs from the growing of grass, are the music of things but are mottled, alas. Away then, my dearest, oh hie thee away, to springs that lie clearest beneath the moon ray, to lone lake that smiles in its dream of deep rest, at the many star isles that enjewel its breast, where wild flowers creeping have mingled their shade, on its margin is sleeping full many a maid. Some have left the cool glade and have slept with the bee. Arouse them, my maiden, on moorland and lea. Sorry. Go, breathe on their slumber, all softly in ear, the musical number they slumber to hear. For what can awaken an angel so soon, whose sleep hath been taken beneath the cold moon, as the spell which no slumber of witchery may test, the rhythmical number which lulled him to rest. The wild bee will not sleep in the shade if there be moonlight. Oh, interesting. Of affectation. Oh, we're just gonna go on. Any notes? Long note. So we'll just read. Do do do. Spirits in wing and angels to the view, 1,000 seraphs burst the empyrean through, young dreams still hovering on their drowsy flight, seraphs in all but knowledge. Seraphs in all but knowledge, Seraphs in all but knowledge, the keen light that fell, diffracted through thy bounds, afar, O death, from I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with this passage. Seraphs in all but knowledge, the keen light that fell, refracted through thy bounds afar, O death, from eye of God upon that star. Sweet was that error, sweeter still that death. Sweet was that error, even with us, the breath of science dims the mirror of our joy. To them 'twere the simoom and would destroy, for what to them availeth it to know that truth is falsehood or that bliss is woe? Sweet was their death, with them to die was rife, with the last ecstasy of satiate life. Beyond that death no immortality, but sleep that pondereth and is not to be. And there, oh, may my weary spirit dwell, apart from heaven's eternity, and yet how far from hell. How long is this one? Okay, we're almost done. I was expecting short little bits tonight. What guilty spirit in what shrubbery dim heard not the stirring summons of that hymn? But to they fell, for heaven no grace imparts to those who hear not for their beating hearts. A maiden angel and her seraph lover. Oh, where, and ye may seek the wide skies over, was love the blind near sober duty known? Unguided love hath fallen mid tears of perfect moan. He was a goodly spirit, he who fell, a wanderer by mossy mantled well, a gazer on the lights that shine above, a dreamer in the moonbeam by his love. What wonder, for each star is eye-like there, and looks so sweetly down on beauty's hair. And they and every mossy spring were holy to his love-haunted heart and melancholy. That's the third time I've seen that rhyme. The night had found to him a night of woe. Upon a mountain crag, young Angelo, beetling it bends athwart the solemn sky, and scowls on starry worlds that down beneath it lie. Here sate he with his love, his dark eye bent, with eagle gaze along the firmament. Now turned it upon her, but ever then it trembled to the orb of earth again. There be tears of perfect moan wept for thee in Helicon, Milton. Ianthe, dearest sea, now how dim that ray, how lovely 'tis to look so far away. Come back. There we go. She seemed not thus. She seemed not thus upon that autumn eve. I left her gorgeous halls nor mourned to leave. That eve, I should remember well. The sun ray dropped in Lemnos with a spell on the arabesque carving of a gilded hall, wherein I sate, and on the draperied wall. And on my eyelids, oh, the heavy light, how drowsily it weighed them into night. On flowers before and mist and love they ran, with Persian Sadi in his Gulistan. But oh, that light, I slumbered, death the while stole o'er my senses in that lovely isle, so softly that no single silken hair awoke that slept, or knew that he was there. The last spot of earth's orb I trod upon was a proud temple called the Parthenon. More beauty clung around her columned wall than even thy glowing bosom beats withal. And when old time my wing did disenthrall, thence sprang I, as the eagle from his tower, and years I left behind me in an hour. What time upon her airy bounds I hung, one half the garden of her globe was flung, unrolling as a chart unto my view, tenantless cities of the desert too. Ianthe beauty crowded on me then, and half I wish to be again of men. It was entire in 1687, the most elevated spot in Athens. That's the Parthenon, shadowing more beauty in their airy brows than have the white breasts of the Queen of Love. That was then even thy glowing bosom beats withal. Okay. My Angelo, and why of them to be, a brighter dwelling place is here for thee, and greener fields than in yon world above, and woman's loveliness and passionate love. And we have another star, pennon for pinion, Milton. But list, Ianthe, when the air so soft failed, as my pennant spirit leapt aloft, perhaps my brain grew dizzy, but the world I left so late was into chaos hurled, sprang from her station on the winds apart, and rolled aflame the fiery heaven athwart. Methought, my sweet one, then I ceased to soar, and fell, not swiftly as I rose before, but with a downward tremulous motion through light, brazen raised this golden star unto. Nor long the measure of my falling hours, for nearest of all stars was thine to ours, dread star, that came amid a night of mirth, a red daedalian on the timid earth. We came and to thy earth, but not to us, be given Our Lady's bidding to discuss. We came, my love, around, above, below, gay firefly of the night, we come and go, nor ask a reason save the angel nod she grants to us, as granted by her God. But Angelo, then thine grey time unfurled, never his fairy wing or fairier world. Dim was its little disk, and angel eyes alone could see the phantom in the skies, when first Al-Arif knew her course to be headlong thitherward o'er the starry sea. But when its glory swelled upon the sky, as glowing beauties bust beneath man's eye, we paused before the heritage of men, and thy star trembled as doth beauty then. Thus in discourse the lovers whiled away the night that waned and brought no day. They fell, for heaven to them no hope imparts, who hear not for the beating of their hearts. So there was a lot in that. So these were his first poems. He has such a grasp of vegetative aesthetic, although the vegetative meaning all sorts of plant matter. I can't think of what other term there. Verdant, no. And I've always envy isn't the right word, but writers who have that capability and that knowledge to utilize all of that. And I mean, I don't want to, again, back in the time when you didn't spend as much of your time inside. I don't care that much, but there is something to being out in nature and understanding it and knowing it. And it creates, or it allows the creation of the beautiful verses. And it informs of other things. There's connections and all that. So yes, it's something that that I wish that I had, and he does. Again, I don't know when he wrote these. If he was very small, not very small, but child or teenager, and he had that grasp of it even then. And it really comes out well in his later works too. And there were a lot of, there's the Ligeia, there was the last two lines from one of the poems we just read, and then there was the rhyme of holy and melancholy. So I love that stuff too, seeing where something started and then how it came into where it is. I love that transition, that how it's built, and analyzing that and studying that and utilizing that. And so we'll continue. To the river, blank. Fair river, in thy bright, clear flow of crystal, wandering water, thou art an emblem of the glow of beauty, the unhidden heart, the playful maziness of art in old Alberto's daughter. But when within thy wave she looks, which glistens then and trembles, why then the prettiest of brooks her worshipper resembles. For in his heart, as in thy stream, her image deeply lies, his heart which trembles at the beam of her soul-searching eyes. Oops. Oh. Okay. How long is this one? We might be able to make it work. Yeah, let's do it. I just want to make sure that I say it correctly. Tamerlane? Tamerlane? Oops. Ah. Tamerlane. We'll go with that. Tamerlane. Kind solace in a dying hour, such father is not now my theme. I will not madly deem that power of earth may shrive me of the sin unearthly pride hath revelled in. I have no time to dote or dream. You call it hope, that fire of fire. It is but agony of desire. If I can hope, O God, I can. Its fount is holier, more divine. I would not call thee fool, old man, but such is not a gift of thine. Know thou the secret of a spirit bowed from its wild pride into shame. O yearning heart, I did inherit thy withering portion with the fame. The searing glory which hath shone amid the jewels of my throne, halo of hell, and with a pain, not hell shall make me fear again. O craving heart for the lost flowers and sunshine of my summer hours, the undying voice of that dead time with its interminable chime rings in the spirit of a spell upon. Sorry. Uh, the undying voice of that dead time with its interminable chime rings in the spirit of a spell upon thy emptiness, a knell. I have not always been as now, the fevered diadem on my brow, I claimed and won usurpingly, hath not the same fierce heirdom given Rome to see. Hath not the same fierce heirdom given Rome to the Caesar, this to me? The heritage of a kingly mind and a proud spirit which hath striven triumphantly with humankind. On mountain soil I first drew life. The mists of the Tagle have shed nightly their dews upon my head, and I believe the winged strife and tumult of the headlong air have nestled in my very hair. So late from heaven that dew it fell, mid dreams of an unholy night, upon me with the touch of hell, while the red flashing of the light from clouds that hung like banners o'er appeared to my half-closing eye the pageantry of monarchy, and the deep trumpet thunder's roar came hurriedly upon me, telling of human battle, where my voice, my own voice, silly child, was swelling. Oh, how my spirit would rejoice and leap within me at the cry, the battle cry of victory. The rain came down upon my head unsheltered, and the heavy wind rendered me mad and deaf and blind. It was but man, I thought, who shed laurels upon me, and the rush. The torrent of the chilly air gurgled within my ear the crush of empires, with the captive's prayer, the hum of suitors, and the tone of flattery round a sovereign's throne. My passions from that hapless hour usurped a tyranny which men have deemed, since I have reached to power. My innate nature be it so. But, Father, there lived one who then, in my boyhood, when their fire burned with a still intenser glow, for passion must, with youth, expire, e'en then, who knew this iron heart in woman's weakness had a part. I have no words, alas, to tell the loveliness of loving well, nor would I now attempt to trace the more than beauty of a face, whose lineaments upon my mind are shadows on the unstable wind. Thus I remember having dwelt some page of early lore upon, with loitering eye, till I have felt the letters, with their meaning, melt to fantasies, with none. Hang on. Thus I remember having dwelt some page of early lore upon, loitering eye, till I have felt the letters, with their meaning, melt to fantasies, with none. Oh, she was worthy of all love. Love as in infancy was mine. 'Twas such an as angel minds above might envy. Her young heart the shrine on which my every hope and thought were incense. Then a goodly gift, for they were childish and upright, pure, as her young example taught. Why did I leave it, and adrift, trust to the fire within for light? We grew in age and love together, roaming the forest and the wild. My breast her shield in wintry weather, and when the friendly sunshine smiled, and she would mark the opening skies, I saw no heaven but in her eyes. Young love's first lesson is the heart, for mid that sunshine and those smiles, when from our little cares apart, and laughing at her girlish wiles, I'd throw me on her throbbing breast, and pour my spirit out in tears. There was no need to speak the rest, no need to quiet any fears of her, who asked no reason why, but turned on me her quiet eye. Yet more than worthy of the love my spirit struggled with and strove, when on the mountain peak alone, ambition lent it a new tone. I had no being but in thee, the world and all it did contain in the earth, the air, the sea, its joy, its little lot of pain that was new pleasure, the ideal, dim vanities of dreams by night, and dimmer nothings which were real, shadows and a more shadowy light, parted upon their misty wings, and so confusedly became thine image and a name, two separate yet most intimate things. I like that. Ah, come. Oops. I was ambitious. Have you. Oh, come back. I was ambitious. Have you known the passion, Father? You have not. A cottager, I marked a throne of half the world as all my own, and murmured at such lowly lot, but just like any other dream, upon the vapor of the dew, my own had passed, but just like any other dream, upon the vapor of the dew my own had passed, did not the beam of beauty which did while it through the minute, the hour, the day, oppress my mind with double loveliness? We walked together on the crown of a high mountain which looked down afar from its proud natural towers of rock and forest on the hills, the dwindled hills, begirt with bowers and shouting with 1,000 rills. I spoke to her of power and pride, but mystically, in such guise that she might deem it not beside the moments converse. In her eyes I read, perhaps too carelessly, a mingled feeling with my own. The flush on her bright cheek to me seemed to become a queenly throne, too well that I should let it be light in the wilderness alone. I wrapped myself in grandeur then, and donned a visionary crown. Yet it was not that fantasy had thrown her mantle over me, but that among the rabble, men, lion ambition is chained down, and crouches to a keeper's hand. Not so in deserts where the grand, the wild, the terrible conspire with their own breath to fan his fire. Look round thee now on Samarcand. Is she not queen of earth? Her pride above all cities, in her hand their destinies, in all beside of glory, which the world hath known, stands she not nobly and alone? Falling, her veriest stepping stone shall form the pedestal of a throne, and who her sovereign, Timur, he whom the astonished people saw striding o'er empires, haughtily a diademed outlaw. O human love, thou spirit given, on earth of all we hope in heaven, which fall'st into the soul like rain upon the Siroc withered plain, and failing in thy power to bless, but leaves the heart a wilderness, idea, which bindest life around with music of so strange a sound, and beauty of so wild a birth, farewell, for I have won the earth. When hope, the eagle that towered, could see no cliff beyond him in the sky, his pinions were bent droopingly, and homeward turned his softened eye. 'Twas sunset, when the sun will part, there 'Twas sunset, when the sun will part, there comes a sullenness of heart to him who still would look upon the glory of the summer sun. That soul will hate the evening mist, so often lovely, and will list to the sound of the coming darkness, known to those whose spirits hearken, as one who, in a dream of night, would fly, but cannot from a danger nigh. What though the moon, the white moon, shed all the splendor of her noon? Her smile is chilly, and her beam, in that time of dreariness, will seem so like you gather in your breath, a portrait taken after death. And boyhood in a summer sun, whose waning is the dreariest one, for all we live to know is known, and all we seek to keep hath flown. Let life then, as the day flower, fall with the noonday beauty, which is all. I reached my home no more, for all had flown who made it so. I passed from out its mossy door, and though my tread was soft and low, a voice came from the threshold stone of one whom I had earlier known. Oh, I defy thee, hell, to show on beds of fire that burn below an humbler heart, a deeper woe. Father, I firmly do believe, I know, for death who comes for me from regions of the blessed afar, where there is nothing to deceive, hath left his iron gate ajar, and rays of truth you cannot see are flashing through eternity. I do believe that Iblis hath a snare in every human path, else how, when in the holy grove I wandered of the idol, Love, who daily scents his snowy wings with incense of burnt offerings from the most unpolluted things, whose pleasant bowers are yet so riven above with trellicked rays from heaven. No mote may shun, no tiniest fly, the lightning of his eagle eye. How was it that ambition crept, unseen, amid the revels there, till growing bold, he laughed and leapt in the tangles of love's very hair. Interesting. Um, yeah, the ambition versus love uh, conflict um, was all over in there, I guess. And I think that's the main um, crux of it. So, yeah. Onward to blank. The bowers whereat in dreams I see the wantonest singing birds are lips and all thy melody of lip begotten words. Thine eyes in heaven of heart enshrined then desolately fall, O God, on my funereal mind like starlight on a pall. Thy heart, I wake and sigh and sleep to dream, till day of the truth that gold can never buy, of the baubles that it may. We're gonna guess it's probably to Francis as well. And then a dream. In visions of the dark night, I have dreamed of joy departed, but a waking dream of life and light hath left me broken hearted. Ah, what is not a dream by day to him whose eyes are cast on things around him with a ray turned back upon the past? That holy dream, while all the world were chiding, hath cheered me as a lovely beam, a lonely spirit guiding. What though that light through storm and night so trembled from afar? What could there be more purely bright in truth's day star? Ah, romance. Ooh, romance. Romance, who loves to nod and sing with drowsy head and folded wing, among the green leaves as they shake, far down within some shadowy lake. To me a painted paroquet hath been a most familiar bird, taught me my alphabet to say, to lisp my very earliest word, while in the wild wood I did lie, a child with a most knowing eye. Of late eternal condor years, so shake the very heaven on high, with tumult as they thunder by. I have no time for idle cares, through gazing on the unquiet sky. And when an hour with calmer wings its down upon my spirit flings, that little time with lyre and rhyme to while away forbidden things, my heart would feel to be a crime unless it trembled with the strings. Lots of bird imagery there. Fairyland. Dim vales and shadowy floods and cloudy looking woods, whose forms we can't discover for the tears that drip all over. Huge moons there wax and wane, again, again, every moment of the night, forever changing places. And they put out the starlight with the breath from their pale faces. About 12 by the moon dial, one more filmy than the rest, a kind which, upon trial, they have found to be the best, comes down, still down, and down with its center on the crown of a mountain's eminence, while its wide circumference in easy drapery falls over hamlets, over halls, wherever they may be, o'er the strange woods, o'er the sea, over spirits on the wing, over every drowsy thing, and buries them up quite in a labyrinth of light. Ah. And then, how deep, oh deep, is the passion of their sleep. In the morning they arise, and their moony covering is soaring in the skies, with the tempests as they toss, like almost anything, or a yellow albatross. They use that moon no more, for the same end as before. Videlicet a tent. Obviously a tent. Videlicet a tent, which I think extravagant. Its atomies, however, into a shower dissever, of which those butterflies of earth who seek the skies, and so come down again, never contented things, have brought a specimen upon their quivering wings. Huh. Oof. I think we may be coming to the end, at least, of these. Yes. Yep, we are. Just a few more coming up. So this is the lake to someone. We shall again potentially assume it is to Francis. In spring of youth it was my lot to haunt of the wide world a spot the which I could not love the less. So lovely was the loneliness of a wild lake, with black rock bound, and the tall pines that towered around. But when the night had thrown her pall upon that spot as upon all, and the mystic wind went by murmuring in melody, then, ah, then I would awake to the terror of the lone lake. Yet that terror was not fright, but a tremulous delight, a feeling not the jeweled mind could teach or bribe me to define, nor love, although the love were thine. Death was in that poisonous wave, and in its gulf a fitting grave, for him who thence could solace bring to his lone imagining, whose solitary soul could make an Eden of that dim lake. And that was it. On to song. I saw thee on thy bridal day, when a burning blush came o'er thee, though happiness around thee lay, the world all love before thee. And in thine eye a kindling light, whatever it may be, was all on earth my aching sight of loveliness could see. That blush perhaps was maiden shame, as such it well may pass, though its glow hath raised a fiercer flame in the breast of him, alas, who saw thee on that bridal day, when that deep blush would come o'er thee, though happiness around thee lay, the world all love before thee. Ooh, scandalous. To MLS. I don't know. Of all who hail thy presence as the morning, of all to whom thine absence is the night, the blotting utterly from out high heaven the sacred sun, of all who, weeping, bless thee hourly for hope, for life, ah, above all, for the resurrection of deep-buried faith in truth, in virtue, in humanity, of all who, on despair's unhallowed bed lying down to die, have suddenly arisen at thy soft murmured words, let there be light, at the soft murmured words that were filled in the seraphic glancing of thine eyes, of all who owe thee most, whose gratitude nearest resembles worship, oh, remember the truest, the most fervently devoted, and think that these weak lines are written by him who, as he pens them, thrills to think his spirit is communing with an angel's. Aw, nice. So yes, so Eureka, a prose poem, I think is incredibly long. I believe it is. So, yes, that I will not be able to get to tonight. But yes, that was the majority of, well, the poetic poetry, rhythmic poetry. And then, yes, I'll look into the plays as well that come after this. I think this is sort of scientific story / poem thing. Not sure. I'll look into it. But yes, then after that there are plays. Potentially I will go back to it. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. And then after that will be the literati, which I'm going to attempt. So it's criticism, public and private. I'm not sure if it's legitimate or if he's just making people up and criticizing them. I will look into that as well and try it. And if not, then it will be on to the final volume of Poe stories, starting with, I believe, we'll start with the long story, A. Gordon Pym. Depending, that might be a two-parter, unless we can crank it out in one night. But we'll see. So, yes, that was the poetry of Edgar Allan Poe. I must do the thing. Da-da-da, Edgar Allan Poe. And that was fun. That was different. I felt a little out of my element, but I enjoyed it. And I hope you did too. So, yes. Yes. So thank you to whoever got lost and found their way here or found their way back. It was good to have you here. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it. And have a good whatever it's going to be for you, and hope to see you again soon. On Thursday, we will be watching The Navigator. And since it's only an hour, maybe I'll add something else to it. I'm not sure. We shall see. So that will be Thursday. And then games on Sunday and reading again on Tuesday. More Poe. So, yes. Thank you and bye.